what I'm saying? Get you some excess. Boss. Zero sugar, very little caffeine, all vitamin B12. Right? Most flavors don't have any caffeine, but some flavors have very little caffeine, but all vitamin B12. Excuse me. Magic and thinking big. Let's do it. We're gonna pick up where we left off from yesterday. Most individuals I try to help, he continued, are operating their own private museum of mental horror. Many marriage difficulties, for example, involved the honeymoon monster. The honeymoon wasn't as satisfactory as one or both of the marriage partners had hoped, but instead of burying the memory, they reflected on it hundreds of times until it was a giant obstacle to success marital relationships. They come to me as much as 5 or 10 years later. Usually, of course, my clients don't see where their trouble lies. It's my job to uncover and explain the source of their difficulties to them and help them to see what a triviality it really is. A person can make a mental monster out of almost any unpleasant happening. My psychologist friend went on. A job failure, a jilted romance, a bad investment, disappointment in behavior of a teenage child. These are common monsters I have to help troubled people destroy. It is clear, let me turn this down just a little bit. It is clear that any negative thought, if fertilized with repeated recall, can develop into a real mind monster, breaking down confidence and paving the way to serious psychological difficulties. In an article in Cosmopolitan magazine, The Drive Toward Self Destruction, Alice Mulcahy pointed out that upward of 30,000 Americans commit suicide each year and another 100,000 attempt to take their own lives. She went on to say, there is shocking evidence that millions of people are killing themselves by slower, less obvious methods. Still, others are committing spiritual rather than physical suicide constantly, seeking out ways to humiliate, punish, and generally diminish themselves. The psychologist friend mentioned before told me how he helped one of his patients stop committing mental and spiritual suicide. This patient, he explained, was in her late 30s and had 2 children. In lay terminology, she suffered from severe depression. She looked back on every incident of her life as being an unhappy experience. Her school days, her marriage, the bearing of her children, the places she had lived, thoughts of all were thought of negatively. She volunteered that she couldn't remember ever having been truly happy. And since one remembers from the past colors what one sees in the present, she saw but pessimism, nothing but pessimism and darkness. When I asked her what she saw in a picture which I showed her, she said it looks like there will be a terrible thunder tonight. There was the gloomiest interpretation of the picture yet I've yet heard. The picture was a large oil painting of the sun low in the sky and a jagged rocky coastline. The painting was very cleverly done and could be construed to be either a sunrise or a sunset. The psychologist commented to me that what a person sees in the picture is a clue to his personality. Most people say it is a sunrise, but the depressed, mentally disturbed person nearly always say it's a sunset. As a psychologist, I can't change what already is in a person's memory, but I can, with the patient's cooperation, help the individual to see his past in a different light. That's the general treatment I used on this woman. I worked with her to help her to see joy and pleasure in her past instead of total disappointment. After 6 months, she began to show improvement. At that point, I gave her a special assignment. Each day, I asked her to think of and write down three specific reasons she has to be happy. Then, at her next appointment with me on Thursdays, I'd go over her list with her. I continued this sort of treatment for 3 months. Her improvement was very satisfactory. Today, that woman, a very well adjusted to her situation. Today, that woman is very well adjusted to her situation. She's positive and certainly as happy as most people. When this woman quit drawing negatives from her memory bank, she was headed toward recovery. Whether the psychological problem is big or little, the cure comes when one learns to quit drawing negative from one's memory bank and withdraws positives instead. Don't build mental monsters. Refuse to withdraw the unpleasant thoughts from your memory bank. When you remember situations of any kind, concentrate on the good part of the experience. I'm gonna underline that. Don't build mental monsters. Refuse to withdraw the unpleasant thoughts from your memory bank. When you remember situations of any kind, concentrate on the good part of the experience. Forget the bad. Bury it. If you find yourself thinking about the negative side, turn your mind off completely. And here is something very significant and very encouraging. Your mind wants you to forget the unpleasant. If you will just cooperate, unpleasant memories will gradually shrivel, and the teller in your memory bank will cancel them out. Dr. Melvin S. Hatwick, noted advertising psychologist, in commenting on our ability to remember, says when the feeling aroused is pleasant, the advertisement has a better chance to be remembered. When the feeling aroused is unpleasant, the reader or listener tends to forget the advertisement message. The unpleasant runs counter to what we want. We don't want to remember it. In brief, it is really easy to forget the unpleasant if we simply refuse to recall it. Withdraw only positive thoughts from your memory bank. Let the others fade away, and your confidence, that feeling of being on top of the world, will zoom upward. You take a big step toward conquering fear when you refuse to remember negative, self-depreciating thoughts. Why do people fear other people? Why do so many folks feel self-conscious around others? What's behind shyness? What can we do about it? Fear of the other person is a big fear, but there is a way to conquer it. You can conquer fear of people if you will learn to put them into proper perspective. A business friend who is doing exceptionally well, operating his own wood novelty plant, explained to me how he got the proper perspective of people. His example is interesting. Before I went into the army in World War II, I was scared of just about everybody. You just wouldn't believe how shy and timid I was. I felt everybody else was a lot smarter. I worried about my physical and mental inadequacies. I thought I was born to fail. Then, by some fortunate quirk of fate, I lost my fear of people in the Army. During part of 1942 and 1943, when the Army was inducing men at a terrific clip, I was stationed as a medic at one of the big induction centers. Day after day, I assisted in examining those men. The more I looked at these recruits, the less afraid of people I became. All those men lined up by the hundreds, naked as jaybirds, looked so much alike. Oh, sure, they were fat ones and skinny ones, tall ones and short ones, but they were all confused. All were lonesome. Just a few days before, some of these rising young executives. Just a few days before, some of these were rising young executives. Some were farmers, some were salesmen, drifters, blue collar workers. A few days before, they had been many things. At the induction center, they were all alike. I figured out something pretty basic back then. I discovered people are alike in many, many more ways than they are different. I discovered the other fellow is pretty much like me. He likes good food, he misses his family and friends, he wants to get ahead, he has problems, he likes to relax. So if the other fellow is basically like me, there's no point of being afraid of him. Now, doesn't that make sense? If the other fellow is basically like me, there's no reason to be afraid of him. Here are two ways to put people in proper perspective. One, get a balanced view of the other fellow. Keep these 2 points in mind when dealing with people first. First, the other fellow is important. Empathetically, he is important. Empathetically, he is important. Every human being is. But remember this, also, you are important too. So when you meet another person, make it a policy to think we're just two important people sitting down to discuss something of mutual interest and benefit. We're just two important people sitting down to discuss something of mutual interest and benefit. A couple of months ago, a business executive phoned to tell me he had employed a young man whom I had recommended to him shortly before. Do you know what really sold me on that fellow? Asked my friend. What? I said. Well, it was the way he handled himself. Most job applicants, when they walk in here, are half scared. They give me all the answers they think I want to hear. In a way, most job applicants are a little like beggars. They'll accept anything, and they aren't particular. But G handled himself differently. He respected me, but what's just as important, he respects himself. What's more, he asks me as many questions as I asked him. He's no mouse. He's a real man, and he's going to do it all right. This mutually important attitude helps you keep the situation balanced. The other fellow does not become too important relative to you and your thinking. The other fellow might look frightfully big, frightfully important, but remember, he is still a human being with essentially the same interests, desires, and problems as you. Number two, develop an understanding attitude. So, number one, get a balanced view of the other fellow. Get a balanced view of the other fellow. Number two, develop an understanding attitude. People who want figuratively to bite you, growl at you, pick on you, and otherwise chop you down are not rare. If you're not prepared for people like that, they can punch big holes in your confidence and make you feel completely defeated. You need a defense against the adult bully, the fellow who likes to throw his meager weight around. A few months ago, at the reservations desk of a Memphis hotel, I saw an excellent demonstration of the right way to handle folks like this. It was shortly after 5 p.m., and the hotel was busy registering new guests. The fellow ahead of me gave his name to the clerk in a commanding way. The clerk said, "Yes, sir, Mr. R. We have a fine single for you." "Single?" shouted the fellow. "I ordered a double." The clerk said, very politely, "Let me check, sir." He pulled up the guest reservation from the file and said, "I'm sorry, sir, your telegram specified a single. I'd be happy to put you in a double room, sir, if we have any available, but we simply do not." Then the irate customer said, "I don't care what that piece of paper says, I want a double." Then he stared in what that "Do you know who I am?" bit followed with, "I'll have you fired. You'll see I'll have you fired." As best as he could, under the verbal tornado, the young clerk interjected, "Sir, we're terribly sorry, but we acted on your instructions." Finally, the customer, really furious now, said, "I wouldn't stay in the best suite in this hotel now that I know how badly managed it is," and stormed out. I stepped up to the desk, thinking the clerk, who had taken one of the worst public tongue lashings I'd seen in some time, would be upset. Instead, he greeted me with one of the fondest "Good evening, sir," I had ever heard. As he went through the routine of processing my room, I said to him, "I certainly admire the way you handled yourself just a moment ago. You have tremendous temper control." "Well, sir," he said, "I really can't get mad at a fellow like that. You see, he really isn't mad at me. I was just a scapegoat. The poor fellow may be in bad trouble with his wife, or his business may be off, or maybe he feels inferior, and this was his golden chance to feel like a wheel. I'm just the guy who gave him a chance to get something out of his system." Wow. The clerk added, "Underneath, he's probably a very nice guy. Most folks are." Walking towards the elevator, I caught myself repeating aloud, "Underneath, he's probably a very nice guy. Most folks are." Remember those two short sentences next time someone declares war on you. Hold your fire. The way to win in situations like this is to let the other person blow his stack and then forget it. Several years ago, I'm gonna start that one. Several years ago, while checking student examination papers, I came across one that especially disturbed me. The student wrote, the student who wrote the examination had demonstrated in class discussions and previous tests that he was far better qualified than his paper indicated. He was, in fact, the fellow who I thought would finish at top of the class. Instead, his paper put him at the bottom. As was my custom in such cases, I had my secretary call the student and ask him to come by my office on an urgent matter. Paul W. appeared shortly. He looked as though he had been through a terrible experience. After he was comfortably seated, I said to him, "What happened, Paul? What happened, Paul? This just isn't the quality paper I expected you to write." Paul struggled with himself, looked in the direction of his feet, and then replied, "Sir, after I saw that you had spotted me cheating, I just went to pieces. I couldn't concentrate on anything. Honestly, this is the first time I'd ever cheated at the university. I desperately wanted an A, so I worked up a little pony to use." He was terribly upset, but now that he was talking, he wouldn't stop. "I suppose you'll have to recommend me for dismissal. The university rule says any student found cheating in any manner is subject to permanent dismissal." Here, Paul started bringing up the shame this incident would bring to his family, how it would wreck his life, and all sorts of repercussions. Finally, I said, "Hold it now, slow down. Let me explain something. I didn't see you cheat until you walked in and told me. I hadn't the faintest idea that was the trouble. I am sorry, Paul, that you did." Excuse me. Then I continued, "Paul, tell me, just what do you want to gain from your university experience?" He was a little calmer now, and after a short pause, he said, "Well, I'm gonna underline that question because that's powerful." Then I continued, "Paul, tell me, just what do you want to gain from your university experience?" He was a little calmer now, and after a short pause, he said, "Well, doctor, I think my overall aim is to learn how to live, but I guess I'm failing pretty badly." "We learn in different ways," I said. "I think you can learn a real success lesson from this experience. When you used your pony in there, your conscience bothered you terribly. This gave you a guilt complex that in turn broke your confidence. As you expressed it, you went to pieces. Most of the time, Paul, this matter of right and wrong is approached from a moral or religious standpoint. Now, understand I'm not here to preach to you, give you a sermon about right and wrong. But let's look at the practical side. When you do anything that goes contrary to your conscience, you feel guilty. And this guilty feeling jams your thought processes." Mmm. We have to underline that one and star it. When you do anything that goes contrary to your conscience, you feel guilty. And this guilty feeling jams your thought processes. Wow. You can't think straight because your mind is asking, "Will I get caught? Will I get caught?" Wow. Paul, I. Paul, I continued, "You wanted an A so badly you did something you knew was wrong. There are many times in life when you'll want to make an A so badly you'll be tempted to do something that is contrary to your conscience. For example, someday you may want to make a sale so badly you'll think of deliberately misleading the customer to buy. And you may succeed, but here's what will happen. Your guilty feeling will grab hold of you, and the next time you see your customer, you'll be self conscious, ill at ease. You'll be wondering, he has discovered that I put something over. Your presentation will be ineffective because you can't concentrate. Chances are you'll never make the second, third, fourth, and many repeat sales. In the long run, making that sale using tactics that hurt your conscience will cost you a lot of income." I went on and pointed out to Paul how an occasional business or professional man loses his grip because of an interest fear that his wife will learn about a secret love affair he is having with another woman. Will she find out? Eats away the man's confidence until he can't do a good job at work or in the home. I reminded Paul that many criminals are captured. I reminded Paul that many criminals are captured not because any clues point to them, but they are act because they act guilty and self-conscious. Their guilt feelings put them on a suspect list. There is within each of us a desire to be right, think right, and act right. I'm gonna underline that one. There is within each of us a desire to be right, think right, and act right. When we go against that desire, we put a cancer in our conscience. This cancer grows and grows by eating away at our confidence. Avoid doing anything that will cause you to ask yourself, will I get caught? Will they find out? Will I get away with it? Avoid doing anything that will cause you to ask yourself, will I get caught? Will they find out? Will I get away with it? Avoid doing anything that will cause you to ask yourself, will I get caught? Will they find out? Will I get away with it? On page 67. Don't try to make an A if it means violating your confidence. Paul, I'm pleased to say, got the point. He learned the practical value of doing what's right. Learn the practical value of doing what's right. I then proposed he sit down and retake the examination. In answer to his question, but what about my dismissal? I said, I know what the regulation says about cheating, but if we dismissed all students who have cheated in any way, half the professors would have to leave. And if we dismissed all students who thought about cheating, the university would have to shut down. So I'm forgetting this whole incident. If you'll do me a favor. Gladly, he said. I walked over to my bookshelf, took down my personal copy of 50 Years with the Golden Rule, and said, Paul, read this book and return it. Paul, read this book. Paul, read this book and return it. See how, in J.C. Penney's own words, just doing what's right made him one of America's richest men. Wow. Doing what's right keeps your conscience satisfied, and this builds self-confidence. What we do, what we do, when we do what is known to be wrong, two negative things happen. First, two negative things happen. First, we feel guilt, and this guilt eats away confidence. Second, other people sooner or later find out and lose confidence in us. Do what's right and keep your confidence. That's thinking yourself to success. Here is a psychological principle that is worth reading over 25 times. Read it until it absolutely saturates you. To think confidently, act confidently. The great psychologist Dr. George W. Crane said in his famous book, Applied Psychology, remember, emotions are the precursors of emotions. You can't control the latter directly, but only through your choice of motions or actions to avoid this all too common tragedy, marital difficulties and mental understandings. Become aware of the true psychological facts. Go through the proper motions each day and you'll soon begin to feel the corresponding emotions. Just be sure you and your mate go through those emotions of dates and kisses, the phrasings of sincere daily compliments. I gotta underline this one. Just be sure you and your mate go through those motions of dates and kisses, the phrasing of sincere daily compliments, plus the many other little courtesies. And you need not worry about the emotion of love. You can't act devoted for very long without feeling devoted. Psychologists tell us we can change our attitudes by changing our physical actions. For example, you actually feel more like smiling if you make yourself smile. You feel superior when you make yourself stand tall than when you slouch. On the negative side, frown a really bitter frown and see if you don't feel more like frowning. It's easy to prove that managed motions can change emotions. People who are shy in introducing themselves can replace this timidity with confidence just by taking 3 simple action steps simultaneously. First, reach for the other person's hand and clasp it warmly. Second, look directly at the other person. And third, say, I'm very glad to know you. These three simple actions automatically and instantaneously banish shyness. Confidence, confident action produces confident thinking. That's fire. I'm underlining that one. Confident action produces confident thinking. So to think confidently, act confidently, act the way you want to feel. Below are five confidence building exercises. Read these guides carefully, then make a conscious effort to practice them and build your confidence. Let's do it. Be a front seater. Ever notice in meetings in church classrooms and other kinds of assemblies how the back seats fill up first? Most folks scramble to sit in the back rows so they won't be too conspicuous. And the reason they are afraid to be conspicuous is that they lack confidence. Sitting up front builds confidence. Practice it. From now on, make it a rule to sit as close to the front as you can. Sure, you may be a little more conspicuous in the front, but remember, there is nothing inconspicuous about success. Number two, practice making eye contact. How a person uses his eyes tells us a lot about him. Instinctively, you ask yourself questions about the fellow who doesn't look you in the eye. What's he trying to hide? What's he afraid of? Is he trying to put something over on me? Is he holding something back? Usually, failure to make eye contact says one of two things. It may say, I feel weak beside you, I feel inferior to you, I'm afraid of you, or avoiding another person's eyes may say, I feel guilty. I've done something wrong, I've done something, or I've thought something that I don't want you to know. I'm afraid if I let my eyes connect with yours, you'll see through me. You say nothing good about yourself when you avoid making eye contact. You say, I'm afraid, I lack confidence. Conquer this fear by making yourself look the other person in the eyes. Looking the other person in the eye tells him, I'm honest and above board. I believe in what I'm telling you. I'm not afraid, I'm confident. Make your eyes work for you. Aim them right at the other person's eyes. It not only gives you confidence, it wins you confidence too. Walk 25% faster. Okay. When I was a youngster, just going to the county seat was a big treat. After all the errands were accomplished and we were back in the car, my mother would often say, Davy, let's just sit here a while and watch the people walk by. Mother was an excellent game player. She'd say, see that fellow? What do you suppose is troubling him? Or what do you think the lady there is going to do? Or look at that person. He just seems to be in a fog. Watching people walk and move about became real fun. It was a lot cheaper than the movies, which was one of the reasons I learned that that mother developed the game. And it was a lot more instructive. I still am a walk watcher.
Yes, who's this? Oh, I'm sorry, I missed your call. Mom, um, are you close or you left already, right? 37 West 12th Street. It's on 12th Street between Broadway. Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
I am still a walk watcher in corridors, lobbies, or sidewalks. I still occasionally find myself studying human behavior simply by watching people move about. Psychologists link slovenly posture and sluggish walking to unpleasant attitudes toward oneself, work, and the people around us. But psychologists also tell us you can actually change your attitudes by changing your posture and speed of movement. Watch and you discover that body action is the result of mind action. I'm gonna underline that. Watch and you discover that body action is the result of mind action. The extremely beaten people, the real down and outers, just shuffle and stumble along. They have zero self confidence. Average people have the average walk. Their pace is average. They have the look of, I really don't have very much pride in myself. Then there's a third group. Persons in this group show super confidence. They walk faster than the average. There seems to be a slight sprint in the way they walk. Their walk tells the world, I've got someplace important to go, something important to do. What's more, I will succeed at what I will do 15 minutes, from now. Use the walk 25% faster technique to help build self confidence. Throw your shoulders back, lift up your head, and move ahead just a little faster and feel self confidence grow. Just try and see. Practice speaking up. In working with many kinds of people of all sizes, I've watched many persons with keen perception and much native ability freeze and fail to participate in discussions. It isn't that these folks don't want to get in and wade with the rest, rather, it's a simple lack of confidence. The confidence clam thinks to himself, my opinion is probably worthless. If I say something, I'll probably look foolish. I'll just say nothing. Besides, the others in the group probably know more than I, and I don't want the other person to know how ignorant I am. Each time the confidence clam fails to speak, he feels even more inadequate, more inferior. Often he makes a faint promise to himself that deep down inside he knows he won't keep to speak next time. This is very important. Each time our clam fails to speak, he takes one more dose of confidence poison. He becomes less and less confident of himself. But on the opposite, on the positive side, the more you speak up, the more you add to your confidence, and the easier it is to speak up the next time. Speak up. It's a confidence building vitamin. Put the confidence builder to use. Make it a rule to speak up at every open meeting you attend. Speak up, say something voluntarily at every business conference, committee meeting, community forum you attend. Make no exception. Comment, make a suggestion, ask a question, and don't be the last to speak. Try to be the icebreaker, the first one in with with a comment, and never worry about looking foolish. You won't. For each person who doesn't agree with you, odds are another person will. Quit asking yourself, I wonder if I dare speak. Instead, concentrate on getting the discussion leader's attention so you can speak. For special training and experience in speaking, consider joining your local Toastmasters club. Thousands of content, thousands of conscious people have developed confidence through a planned program to feel at ease talking with people and to people. Number 5, smile big. Most folks have heard at one time or another that a smile will give them a real boost. They've been told that a smile is excellent medicine for confidence deficiency, but lots of people still don't really believe this because they have never tried smiling when they feel fear. Make this little test. Try to feel defeated and smile big at the same time. You can't. A big smile gives you confidence. A big smile beats fear, rolls away worry, and defeats despondency. And a real smile does more than cure just your ill feeling. A real smile melts away the opposition of others and instantly too. Another person simply can't be angry with you if you give him a big smile, a sincere smile. Just the other day, a little incident happened to me that illustrates this. I was parked at an intersection waiting for the light to change when BAM! The driver behind me had let his foot slip the brake, and put my rear bumper to a test. I looked back through my mirror and saw him getting out. I got out too and, forgetting the rule book, started preparing myself for verbal combat. I confess I was ready verbally to bite him to pieces. But fortunately, before I got the chance, he walked up to me, smiled, and said in the most earnest voice, Friend, I really didn't mean to do that. That smile, matched with his sincere comment, melted me. I mumbled something about, that's okay, happens all the time. Almost in less time than it takes to wink an eye, my opposition turned into friendship. Smile big and you feel like happy days are here again, but smile big. A half-developed smile is not fully guaranteed. Smile until your teeth show. That large-sized smile is fully guaranteed. I've heard many times, yes, but when I fear something or when I'm angry, I don't feel like smiling. Of course you don't. No one does. The trick is to tell yourself forcefully, I'm going to smile. Then smile. Harness the power of smiling. Put these 5 procedures to work for you. Action cures fear. Isolate your fear and then take constructive action. Inaction, doing nothing about a situation, strengthens fear and destroys confidence. 2. Make a supreme effort to put only positive thoughts in your memory bank. Don't let negative, self-depreciatory thoughts grow into mental monsters. Simply refuse to recall unpleasant events. Elijah! Elijah, can you stop yelling? Please stop yelling. We're all here. Thank you. Number 2, make a supreme effort to put only positive thoughts in your memory bank. Don't let negative, self depreciatory thoughts grow into mental monsters. Simply refuse to recall unpleasant events or situations. Number 3, put people in proper perspective. Remember, people are more alike, much more alike than they are different. Get a balanced view of the other fellow. He is just another human being. And develop an understanding attitude. Many people will bark, but it's a rare one who bites. Number 4, practice doing what your conscience tells you is right. This prevents the poisonous guilt complex from developing. Doing what's right is a very practical rule for success. Number 5, make everything about you say, I'm confident, really confident. Practice these little techniques in your day-to-day activities. Be a front seater, make eye contact, walk 25% faster, speak up, smile big. Smile with your eyes too. I always like to say that. And that leads us to chapter 4, how to think big. I will pause right there. Today is 2/7/26, February 7th, 2026. It's currently 14:29. Amen. Saturday, and I'm so grateful that the Lord continues to direct our steps. And I want to say this. Applied knowledge is power as we learn. Apply what you learned, apply what you heard, and the magic of thinking big will work for you. Hey, if you're down, need some energy, access. Get the variety pack, put the link in the bio. God is good. Amen. Follow for more.